Welcome to the Crow's Nest. I'm Andrew, and tonight's story is about the rape and murder of a beautiful young college student in the biggest little city in the world, Reno. So, Crows, I submit for your approval the murder of Brianna Denison. Let's do it. Reno is the second largest city in Nevada, but it's not necessarily a second Vegas. Yes, it is a 24-hour city, but when it comes to recreation, it almost offers everything under the sun. National Bowling Stadium, check. AAA baseball team, check. Winter sports, booze, gambling, debauchery, check, 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 and double check. In short, the same day you're hitting the slopes, you could be tossing the coins at the good old one-armed bandit. Cha-ching! I mean, Reno is one of a kind. Kinda like Brianna was. Born on March 29, 1988, Brianna Zanino Denison was a Reno local. I think that's a Renoite. I think that's what that is. Anyways, she would remind her mom of a breath of fresh air on a cool summer day. So she would go on to nickname Brianna Breezy. Now, life wasn't all roses and dandelions for Breezy. When she was 6, her father passed away, and it was really hard on the family, like any passing of a loved one is. But her mother, brother, sister, and her doggy Ozzy would press on and persevere. They weren't going to let life get them down. And so Brianna grew up to be this well-rounded woman. She loved to travel. She had collected a ton of stamps on that passport of hers. She was popular and beautiful and was known to be incredibly trustworthy and had this great fondness for people and children. Not surprisingly, when Brianna graduated high school in 2006, she would find her life passion as a child psychologist. And so she was looking for universities that would be able to fulfill that degree. And so she was sending out her applications to these universities, and she got a hit and got accepted to the Santa Barbara City College. It looks like that dream of being a child psychologist was going to happen. And for a girl that was popular and beautiful and had this magnetic, I think magnetic's the term, personality, college was great for Brianna. Every break she went on, she would come home and hang out with her friends and family, in particular her best friend, K.T. Hunter. So, flipping the pages of this novel, it's now the winter break of 2008. And this is when things go from fantastically awesome to bad. Just bad. January 19, 2008 will unfortunately be a day that will rest heavy on people's hearts because it was the last day she was seen alive. A bit Shakespearean because January 19, 2008 was such a fantastic day for Brianna and her friends. There was a lot of fun to be had. It started off at the Sands Hotel, Resort, and Casino. Its name is bigger than what it should be. All I'm gonna say is research it if you are considering staying there. There might be better options. But other than that, the day was fun-filled, starting off with a snowboard convention at the Sands and transitioning into a rap concert where they got a little hyphy, although I don't think hyphy was a term people were dishing out in 2008, but that's what they were doing. They were getting a bit hyphy. Anyways, after the rap concert, they head back to the Sands for a little grub at a little diner called Mel's. And they get back home to K.T. Hunter's house. K.T. Hunter and the other friend Jessica that would be hanging around with them all night crashed out in their rooms, and Brianna couch surfs it. And then K.T. Hunter and Jessica woke up. and found Brianna wasn't on the couch. The car that they drove in yesterday on January 19th was still at the sands, so they had to rush to the sands and come back, and they did that, right? They rushed to the sands, grabbed the car, came back, and Brianna was still gone, and that's when things started getting a little, oh man, they just started to worry a little bit, right? Something wasn't right, because her shoes and purse and all her belongings were still there, and then that's when they found a little pool of blood on the pillow she was using that was on the couch she was surfing on.
Dispatch, this is Robin. Can I help you?
Hi, I need the police at my house. My friend spent the night last night on my couch. She's gone, and there's something that looks like blood on the pillow, and all her stuff's still here.
The authorities rushed over to KT Hunter's home on 1395 McKay Court, which is literally like a stone throw away from the UNR campus, and put on their detective hat. As they were collecting evidence, they were able to pick up some skin cells from the doorknob of the back door of the residence. And when they got that back to the station and fed that into the database, they got a hit.
Investigators say they think she was kidnapped from the home of a friend. They found what appears to be blood on a pillow she had slept on. And they say DNA at the scene matches samples from an earlier unsolved rape case.
A foreign exchange student that was going to UNR was sexually assaulted. A guy came up from behind and threw his hand over her mouth, and she actually collapsed. She came to in his car. And when she came to, she was getting the good old, don't look at me, you better not look at me. One of those things. And so she didn't really get a good look at him. But she was able to document in her old mind the type of vehicle the dude was driving. The fact that he was around 5'6", a bit taller. He was a white dude, had no accent. And there was a child's shoe in his car, which is kind of odd. Could be a clue. Remember that one. And although she didn't get a good description of the guy, the description she gave of the vehicle was awesome, right? Just through her retelling of what the vehicle looked like, the detectives were able to narrow it down to a 2005 to 2006 Toyota Tacoma extended cab. And so, open and shut case, right? Looking for a white guy driving a white Toyota Tacoma extended cab pickup.
A body found in Reno, Nevada Friday is that of 19-year-old Brianna Denison. Police confirmed the identity Saturday.
She was found by a guy on his lunch break, walking along the side of the street, and saw some orange socks. And those orange socks were attached to somebody. It didn't take them long to ID the body. She was only there for about a week to 2 weeks, so there was still a lot to go off of. And interesting enough, they didn't just find a body, but they also found a pair of women's underwear. Actually, 2 pair. Somebody clue me in, because I don't get the fetish, I guess, for underwear. Maybe I'm missing something. They took DNA samples, and DNA matches the same guy that touched KT Hunter's doorknob. And also, the underwear was interesting, and it kind of clued them in on some other things, them being the authorities, because you see, the foreign exchange student, that girl that was sexually assaulted, well, she recalled some more details, and one of those was the fact that the guy that manhandled her, kept her underwear too. And so the authorities add that into the evidence bag that they have collected, right? The description of the truck, the DNA, all that stuff, but they still didn't have a lot to go off of. They still didn't know exactly what the dude looked like. And some months go by. And another sexual assault happened. But this time, the girl got a look at the guy, right? And she was able to give, kind of a little sketch of what he looked like. But he doesn't really look like anybody. I mean, it's better, right? Still more, but just not still a lot to go off of. And a couple more months go by, and it's about 8 months to 10 months later. And just as Reno was starting to relax a little bit, a woman made a phone call, an anonymous phone call, to a nonprofit organization named Secret Witness. Now, if you don't know Secret Witness, that's okay, but essentially, it's a nonprofit that allows people to call in anonymously and report situations or report occurrences, and then Secret Witness will forward those tips to the police. And the anonymous tipster had a story, an interesting story, and a name. You see, the tipster said that her friend had told her that she found a pair of women's underwear in the back of her boyfriend's new truck when he had came back from a long work trip. And the dude's name is James Michael Biela.
Investigators said DNA evidence gathered from the scene linked Denison's killer to 3 other sexual assaults on women at or near the campus from October to December 2007.
What a stand-up guy. Seriously, the guy's a D-bag. Like, straight up, just bad egg. It wasn't hard for the authorities to dig up information about the guy because the guy has a rap sheet. No, not that rap sheet. The guy has quite a bit of a paper trail on him. You see, he has a history of being violent towards women. And so, armed with this bit of information, the tipster and the DNA and the name and who the name was, the authorities wanted to bring in the tipster's friend. And so they did. Carleen Harmon. And when she came in, the police had a lot of questions for her, and she was reserved but glad to answer them all. And out of all the questions, the police had one really, really important question they wanted to ask her. Can we get a DNA sample from your son? You see, Carleen Harmon and Jimmy have a son, a child, small little tyke. And so she did. And when the DNA came back, it was a match for at least somebody that was related to the son. Luckily, all that though was enough for the police to get a warrant and bring Jimmy on down. And they did. They got him in.
Reno, Nevada police say they have arrested a suspect in the kidnapping and killing of a 19-year-old college student.
At the police station and getting questioned, Jimmy denied everything. Unfortunately for Jimmy, his girl wasn't on his side. You see, she didn't really give him a solid alibi. Actually, she was like, nah, he was gone for a couple days. During the whole January 19th to 20th. He said he was sleeping in his car. Oops! Sorry, Jimmy! Another thing the cops wanted to ask was what kind of vehicle he drove. Now, the truck wasn't a match, but remember it was a new truck. And it was new because he just acquired it because he had sold his previous truck. Can you guess what it was? 2005 Toyota Tacoma, white. Extended cab. Ooh. So even though Jimmy was doing the whole, wasn't me, Armed with all this evidence, the authorities were able to get a warrant for his DNA, and they collected his DNA, and it was a match. And that was just like the icing on the cake. So they had enough to charge him, and charge him they did. They were going after the rape and murder of Brianna Denison and the sexual assaults that his DNA was also tied to. So he was in some deep So on May 10th, 2010, the state of Nevada versus James Michael Biela began.
Twist in this trial today. The James Biela trial moved ahead today with more details about the investigation into the Brianna Denison murder.
Michael's defense attorneys would try to get the DNA thrown out, and they offered some weak explanations why it just might not be Jimmy. But it was a hard case, and it was futile. On May 27th, 2010, he was found guilty of all charges.
Verdict. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter, find the defendant, James Michael Biela, guilty of count 4, murder in the first degree, of Brianna Denison, dated this 27th day of May 2010, Terry Booker, foreperson.
After 3.5 weeks of trial, 60 witnesses, a mountain of exhibits, on June 2nd, 2010,
Found, therefore by reason thereof, set the penalty of sentence to be imposed at death.
Jimmy's family would try to give some reasons why James was the way he was. They said that he was exposed to violence, and nobody got no time for that. I mean, he was the dude is a creep, and he's guilty. I mean, this is not something that's debatable. Biela appealed shortly after, and the Supreme Court upheld the verdict. And he has appealed since 2010, and every time he appeals, every time it's upheld. So, hope you're liking that prison food there, Jimmy. If there's anything positive about this horrible, horrible story, it'd have to be with the Bring Bree Justice Foundation, which is committed to the safety of women and children, and also Brianna's Law, which requires the collection and entry of DNA into a database for anybody receiving felonies. And so, that's it. That's a wrap, folks. That is the story of Brianna Denison. And, what can I say? You know, it's a doozy. I mean, the guy is a complete and utter dirtbag, and whatever your stance is on the death penalty, you know, it's valid. There's pros and cons to each side if you're for or against. But I think we all can agree, you know, in a story like this with a guy like James Michael Biela, maybe it's warranted. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed episode number 1 of The Crow's Nest. Gonna be doing these once a week, every Saturday at 8 p.m. So I hope to see you around. Remember, you are loved and appreciated. If you haven't heard it today, let me be the first one to tell you, you are loved and appreciated. Subscribe and like, and I will see you guys in the next one. Later.